things. He's doing big things right now. He's got the baby on the way, CJ. So it's just me today. Pretty different. I was like, damn, usually I get to just sit around and not talk. And now I have to talk. I have to fill the entire space up. It's just me. Chase popped in. He said he'll be back next week. We'll be vibing and thriving. It'll be the day after Father's Day. Chase, man, enjoy your first Father's Day. I'll talk to you on that day. I'm sure too.
The dynamic duo has returned. Chase and Shep. One base for the mind. Let's go.
More information and past friends, you can hit up ChaseandShep.com. Even though Shep hasn't updated it in a while.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, man. Hey, how's it going?
We almost got caught slacking on that intro there.
Yeah,
We was just vibing. And,
but I enjoyed it the second time. It was so nice. We used it twice. I was really into it. That time.
Oh, I just meant like I was completely.
Oh, you almost just missed it.
We were in the zone talking and whatnot, and then he's like, "It's go time," and I looked up at all zeros up there, like, "Oh shit,
Let's go.
let's go."
Yeah, I'm trying a new look since the last time I was here. The old stubble and a stash. I don't know how long this is gonna last. This will probably be gone by the time we start filming in a few weeks. But I'm also rocking this ponytail. Oh, okay. And it's been it's new for me. I never thought I'd be a guy to rock a ponytail, but here we are. So the both of us, rocking these ponies. So
Rocking the pony, dude. Props, shout outs to Genuine. I think that's who sang My Pony back in the day, right?
I don't know, man. It's a whole vibe. It's a whole like I
It
became a
is.
dad, and then I'm like, I just looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, how do I embrace that? How do I embrace the dad look? And mustache, ponytail, and the big what is this? A Margaritaville shirt? Yep, yes,
Oh,
sir.
look at you!
So,
Get the big dog shirts on and do your
so you
thing.
know the big dog shirts. I had to explain big dog to Belle the other day.
Fuck yeah, no big. They had a big dog store that you could go
Where
buy
at? Was it here? Like around here?
the
Because
Tuscola,
Tuscola. Okay.
Tuscola outlet malls. Somebody, they. I think I'm sorry if I was freezing there. Tuscola outlet malls. They either had a big dog store or they
Mhm.
had a like a section in a store that was like had the
The
dog
sold big
house
dogs.
and it was
Yeah.
like huge big dog. I remember that. So yeah,
Ours was in Nashville at the like Opry Mills Mall or whatever. They had it, and it was a big thing in my family. Especially, we got a lot of big guys in my family.
Mhm,
Big
mhm.
tall dudes, and so Big Dog was very popular. I wish I had known we were going to start talking about this. Start pulling up images for the people that don't know what this was, because like especially as like a little like in pop culture stuff, like my whole life, like they had like the
Where am I
the
at
Harry
then?
Potter shirts and stuff. It was like Harry Potter, like PAW and all that stuff, all the dog puns, and they had it for like all this shit, like all sorts of different movies and pop culture stuff. They had the big dog spin on it. I've got great memories of that store. Great memories.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to look it up, but yeah, even like trying to Google search doesn't really bring up. I mean, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't fuck with the big dog shirts these days. But Big Dog's still in company. They got
They are
bigdog.com, bigdogs.com.
awesome.
Um, maybe
Might,
some of them good. I just saw like a real
I might need to
Patreon.
buy one just for old time's sake, just to relive the good old days.
This is probably the one I'd go for if it'll show up there. If you can't surf with the big dogs, stay off the net.
There you
He's
go.
got a little dog on a surfboard going around a little internet looking thing. So still thing, man, still thing.
Yeah, that's good. Great. I love to see it. I
I
love
didn't
to see
ever
it.
really go down the trying to dress like the typical dad route. I feel like
I I'm I'm saying I didn't really intend to do it. It was an
right.
accident. Like it was
No,
fully an
okay,
accident. I
okay,
just looked
okay.
at myself in the mirror after the fact, I guess, and was just like, what happened? You know, how did I get to this point? I was like, I want to try something new, and when I was looking, I'm just like, oh, I did. I'm a full blown dad now.
I guess I went through a little stage where I was like, I should dress my age, you know what I mean, and stop wearing pumpkin shirts and stuff. And didn't last long. Didn't last
Man,
long.
fuck all that.
Nah.
Fuck all that. It's about comfort over here, not
Yeah,
style.
it
So
is. It is. But you do quickly realize like a New Balance, some shoes,
right. I'm
not too
one
bad.
crock away from
Yeah,
yeah.
not too bad.
Um yeah. So in the end of the month, we decided that we're gonna talk on our top 10 horror movies of all time, our favorite top 10 horror flicks.
Mhm.
Um I really deliberated on it quite a bit. I don't know what got me started on it. Kind of the same thing what you said earlier about like as soon as you were thinking about it, you're like, I want to do that. Like I want to see what my favorite ones are. And so we are kind of talking before how I had some requirements set to meet my top 10 criteria. And for me, that was if a movie impacted me in some great way, really left me feeling a certain type of way or just scares the living shit out of me. And to this day, I find it just as scary every time, just things like that. What makes a great horror movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. That's pretty much the same requirements I felt like most of these were. Did I enjoy it? Did it stick with me? And did it like literally scare the living hell out of me? So it's quite a
Um,
few. And it's funny because I was actually like hanging with the fam yesterday, and one of my little nephews, he was like, obviously my sister had talked to him at some point, and he's like, he's like, "Hey, Uncle Ernie," he's like, "If you were such a scaredy cat when you were little, why are you into like spooky horror stuff now?" And I was just like, "I guess you got to face your fears head on." And then I realized I kind of like this shit.
yeah,
So a lot
I
of
kind of
those,
had the same thing.
some of these movies on this list come from that time period where I was scared shitless of these
Yeah.
things. So
One of the movies on my list was the movie that was the turning point for me that got me into horror in general. So
okay.
um, I'm excited, man. It was a hard thing to do, well, that's for sure, to narrow it down to 10. I still don't feel right with all 10. There's like maybe one or two that I'm just like, but do you deserve your spot here? Um, but
I'm
there's at least eight that I'm like, no, you were definitely in my top 10. So that's not too bad. But
Yeah, I'm
uh,
I'm pretty fine with mine. If I had to take these 10 movies and it was like these are the only 10 movies I'm gonna keep watching, I
yeah,
think I'd be okay with it.
I feel that. Well, all
Hit
right.
it up,
I
man.
guess
Let's start at the bottom. What was your number 10?
start at the bottom. Well, my thing is they're not in any particular order because that was even more difficult. I couldn't actually rank them like that.
I put them in a
Um,
ranking order, so I got you. I got you.
oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll try at random here. Um,
Go for
I'll
it.
put this one at number 10 because this is my last minute change out.
Okay.
And technically, I feel like it kind of skirted around the criteria a little bit because all of these movies on my list are like unforgettable. They stuck with me forever. And when I came up with my initial 10, when I came up with my initial 31, it never came up in my mind because I don't own a copy of it. And so I was like, I know I'm missing something. But at number 10, I'm gonna do the 2007 version of Funny Games. I don't know if
Funny
you've ever
game.
seen that one or not, but that was one of those movies, like in my earliest days of watching horror movies. 2007 is when I started watching horror movies. That was the turning point for me. And Funny Games was amongst those first films that I saw. And it quickly was like, not only this is something that like you could do in a horror movie, but just movies in general could be something like this. Like it was insane. I mean, the opening sequence is just this family driving in a car to their lake house or whatever, and all of a sudden, just like this screamo rock music is playing over this like peaceful like scenery of them driving, and like Funny Games comes up like fully on the screen and all this shit, and I'm just like, holy shit. Like, it really sets your expectations for the movie to come after it. It's just like this weird juxtaposition of like the screamo music and the peaceful setting and all this stuff, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? And that is not the last time you'll say that watching that movie, because there's a scene later on that just completely bends the laws of film as I knew it at the time, and it was just like one of the first like fourth wall break sort of things I'd ever seen. And that's normal and stuff like, like Deadpool, or like, you see that in comedies and stuff. But I had never watched a movie that was that serious, and then all of a sudden something that fucking weird happened. And I think
Right.
to this day, Funny Games is to thank for like what set the tone for my love of like weirder stuff. And like I think to this day, subverting expectations in horror and all that stuff that's incorporated in our work, it all started with Funny Games. It's all about this family goes to their lake house, and these two preppy dudes next door come over, and they're like, "Oh, we need to borrow some sugar or some shit," and then they proceed to torture the family. And they're like, "If you can live till dawn, dope. If not, sorry about you." And
Dead by dawn, man. Dead by
yep,
dawn.
and it was one of a kind. I mean, I really enjoyed it. So that's my
Nice.
number 10, Funny Games.
My number 10 was a movie I saw when I was probably about 17 or 18 years old. And me and one of my friends, we went together. We were bored Saturday night, Friday night, something like that. Me and Eric Jones, give him some props. Smoked a whole gang of weed and was like, let's go watch a movie. Amityville Horror just came out with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because up until that point, he was in funny shit. Waiting had probably just came out and whatnot. That we just didn't expect that level of fucking unsettlingness from his character in it, that me and my friend literally, like, in the middle of the movie, I remember us both like looking at each other, and I was like, dude, I'm scared as fuck right now. And he's like, I am too, man. And like I put my feet up on the like got all up in a ball. Like I was like, dude, this is like, he's fucking freaking me out with his acting. Not like, you know what I'm saying? This isn't like hack and slash horror, you know what I'm saying? But psychologically, man, that his performance in that, top notch, top notch. So that has to be on my list.
That one, it's been a minute since I've seen that one.
The scene where he makes that kid hold the wood while he chops it, dude, that's fucked up.
I do remember that.
That is fucked up,
I
man.
do remember
Oh.
that, and little baby Chloe Grace Moretz in that movie too.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
but yeah. Ah.
let's see here, number 9. I think I'm gonna have to go number 9, Cabin in the Woods, which is
That's a good one. That's a good one.
number 9 on my top 10 horror films, but is in like my top 5 or 10 films of all time. Just because it was so impactful for me. I remember so many different memories with this movie. Like I remember almost every time that I've seen it. I remember the very first time I saw it. I was it came out in 2012, I believe, and
Yeah,
the
it's been a
girl I
while.
was dating at the time, we were big into horror movies. We were in Catlin. The movie was playing in Champaign, which is about a 45-minute difference for the people who don't know our geography here. But that 45-minute distance, I covered it pretty goddamn quick to make it to the theater to see this movie. And man, was I glad that I did. Because again, like Funny Games, I'd never fucking seen anything like it. It blew my mind. And I already dug like horror comedy and stuff like that. But like this thing was on a whole other level. Like if I ever had to teach a film class, I would absolutely do a lesson on Cabin in the Woods and how to lean into your cliches. I feel like I learned a lot of that from Shaun of the Dead, but Shaun of the Dead didn't quite make my top 10. But Cabin in the Woods, just man, again, it's that subverting expectations. If you know your material, if you know the rules, you can break the rules in ways that people don't expect. And to this day, I've seen it countless times. I about died going to buy a copy of it on DVD when it came out. I went and got the Blu-ray from Walmart like right before I had to work, and it had been raining, and I'm fucking like speeding down the road to get it, and I like
Swerving.
lost control a little bit, and I'm like, I'm literally just going to make it before I could go after work, I could go anytime, but I'm like, I gotta go buy this fucking movie. I love it.
It's a good one. That is a solid ass movie. I will say that. And you got the Hemsworths in it. You
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
Good actors, good
Usually,
actresses.
hands down, one of the most influential movies on me as a writer and filmmaker and all that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely top notch in horror. I love it. And I've probably seen it not as much as you, obviously. I've
Yeah.
I've probably only seen it a few times, but I do enjoy that. That's one I really do enjoy. Um, Mine that I put for number 9, isn't quite horror, but it's on a lot. Like when you see a lot of horror lists, you see a lot of people talking about, oh, great. I feel like this movie's included with it because it's weird, and that's Eraserhead.
Okay.
Older movie, black and white, but I haven't watched it in quite a while. I don't know if I've ever really sat and, like, watched it, but, like, there's certain parts that I could close my eyes and still see in my head right now because it's fucking weird,
Yeah.
and especially for the time it came out.
I've actually been wanting to watch that recently because I'd never watched like David Lynch's stuff before until I caught like a few episodes of Twin Peaks recently, and I was like, "Oh, this is the level this guy's on. This shit is weird, man." Like I thought Twin Peaks was the greatest like horror show for stoners I'd ever seen. Like
Mhm.
the horror was on point, but like as a stoner, you're gonna get so sucked into that world, just like what the fuck is going on, you know? Uh, but yeah, I'm sure it's weird. I've never seen it.
No, yeah, it's great, and I feel like at some point I've made something with music that I set it to video from Eraserhead, just of that weird fucking creature spouting out a bunch of shit out of like pus looking stuff. It's nasty. So if you like some nastiness like that, I bet I feel like you could just go Eraserhead on YouTube and find it.
Let's see here.
So what do you got for the number 8?
Number 8. It's this is hard to do because it's all like it's numbered, but it's not numbered by ranking. So I'm like trying to Rain Man it right now. Um, number 8. I am gonna go with Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Solid,
Um,
solid.
it's just such a good time, man. And Killer Clowns from Outer Space and probably what's going to be my number 7 were movies that like they were the ones I switched out with my honorable mentions, Shaun of the Dead and Alien. I Those were the two that had the spot, and I had to switch them out with Killer Clowns and my number 7 because these are movies that I'm like, if somebody's like, oh, I've never seen this movie before, I'm turning it on and we're watching it. Like it's like this is a movie I could watch over and over and over and over again and never get sick of. I just think Killer Clowns is, I
It
don't know,
is
man. It's just
very
a
good.
fucking masterpiece in its own way. Like,
We've talked about it on the show. It's
yeah,
been, I think, our 31 Slays thing we did. But yeah,
mhm.
dude, it's fun. The prosthetics that they used and stuff, how they made the clowns and whatnot's great. I know they reuse the costumes and other stuff, so that's funny.
Yeah. The
Um,
practical effects element of it is definitely one of the biggest things. Plus, it's just so bonkers, dude. It's just such a creative and I love when villains, like when bad guys are like very like Looney Tune esque, and it's like they're sinister, but they're also like a Looney Tune. Like, and the Killer Clowns are totally that. Like, it's like yeah, they'll kill you pretty bad, but at the same time, they're like all but pulling a hole out of their pocket and throwing it into the ground.
right,
Like
right, yeah. Doing some slapstick stuff, pulling stuff out
yeah,
of your throat, and you're oh.
right, clown shit.
Yeah. No, I love it. That is my favorite. I love the sheriff in it. Police Officer Mooney
Yeah.
speaking. Killer
Oh
clowns,
yeah.
huh? And now they're at your front door, huh? But I know we talked about that on our Slay stream that we did
Yeah.
though. That guy was classic. Uh Number 8 for me, I think it's coming in hot. This is a movie that I've seen a few times, but when I put it on this list, I was like, I think it's almost been long enough since the last time I watched this that I can watch it again and probably be like, oh yeah, The Strangers.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but I love me some home invasion type stuff. You know what I mean?
It's
And that
terrifying.
movie, that movie, I really did it. The people going in looked real creepy. It just, everything about that one, man. Like those one, like, and it's hard to pick because, like, the first Purge was like that too,
Yeah,
where just people just show up and they're just like, nah, we're getting in there, and it's like,
yeah,
what?
whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that, and like the Hitchhiker, I think was one, wasn't that where like, or
I'm
where
not
they,
sure. I haven't seen that one.
I don't know, it's like they don't pick up a hitchhiker on the side of the road, so it's like, I'm gonna kill you then. All right,
Right,
cool.
right. All right.
Shit like that is good. It sticks with me. It's a little unsettling, It'd be like right now, like if I'm just sitting here right now and people just start breaking in my house with knives,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty terrifying.
It would be.
Um, so yeah, that's what I had coming in at number 8. I thought that one was a good number 8, and I think from here on forward, they just get better
Yeah. So
on my list. Just gets a little better.
okay, I guess I'm gonna stick with it. Okay, so my number 7 was the other one I had to switch out at the last second, and I saw it the same year I saw Killer Clowns, which was only a few years ago at this point. So it was pretty fresh. That's why I hesitated to put it on the list. But just in that short amount of time since I've seen it, Candyman has been a go-to for me. Like it's a movie that even if I haven't seen it in a while, like I'm still thinking about it. Like I haven't ever stopped thinking about Candyman since I saw it. And how many times have I said it now? I need to stop here in a minute.
I
But
know the original. I've not seen the newer one they did, but the original was
yeah.
like back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. The
Oh,
OG.
that's the
Yes.
one. Okay,
Oh
okay.
yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
one I completely understand, bro.
Yeah. No. The new one was okay. The first time I saw it, I thought it was fine, but I don't know. It felt a little strange to me when I went back and watched them like more back to back. Once I had seen it and knew what to expect. I definitely like it a lot more. It is a good like two-parter if you're just going to watch the original and the new one. But yeah, man, that original movie, especially being in Illinois, like there is something about like obviously I'm not from Chicago, but we're pretty Chicago adjacent, like and there is something to like that sort of pride of like, okay, well this is happening somewhere that like we know sort of thing, and with that Chicago setting, and I just all of it, man, it just really gets under your fucking skin. There's some crazy shit in it, and I liked the like I didn't know what to expect the first time I sat down to watch it. I didn't know anything about it other than like the whole like, oh, if you say his name in the mirror, he'll come and kill you and all that stuff. I didn't know what the bees were all about. I didn't know nothing going into it. So like when there was that whole like journalistic uh aspect of it, like there was this mystery that needed to be solved. I was like, oh, this is pretty dope. Like I like this little investigative reporter angle to it. Um, and yeah, man, it really stuck with me, and it continues to. It's one that I'm always just like, man, I could really go for watching Candyman right now.
It is, man. That kid, the bathroom scene with that kid, it'll never leave your mind. It'll
Yeah,
never leave your mind after you see that. Well, if
I
you're
feel like
good.
now that I have a newborn baby, like I feel like I would really be fucked up. Like watching the Candyman now, I'd just be like, I like the whole last bit of the movie where he steals the kid and shit. I'd just be like,
I'm
hold
not cool with
hold my
this.
boy.
I'm not
No,
cool with this.
not me, not my boy. So yeah,
Um,
that's number 7
Candyman's
for me.
solid, dude. My number 7 was okay. So this is the one I switched out because I told you I had a list, and then I was like, I thought of this other movie that I was like, you know what? This was when I was older in life, and this movie legitimately scared me. It doesn't anymore, but it did like the first couple times I watched it. And I know I've talked to you about this, so you might laugh at this one, but it's The Fourth Kind.
Oh yes.
Now, when I first was told about The Fourth Kind, I was not told that it was a mockumentary at all. Okay, somebody was like, "No, they took real footage of shit that happened, and like the studio let Mila Jovovich and all these people come in." Oh,
Hey,
what's up, Mercedes?
thanks for stopping by.
Um, but yeah, they were like, and they shot, you can see like shot by shot of like real footage and like this studio film footage and stuff. So when I watched this first time I ever saw that, I was like, yo, this is terrible. What is going on? Like, why is no one talking about this? This is footage. Like, this is on here. And and I was in the Navy at that time. So
Yeah.
I think it was like 3 or 4 years, I believe that, dude, and was like parading that around, telling people like
That's
when they're
funny.
like, "I like horror movies," I'm like, "You need to watch The Fourth Kind, man. They got like aliens and it's real and it is kind of terrifying." And then like one of these kids at work was making fun of me, like it's fake, and I'm like, "No, it's not." And they're like, "It's a mockumentary," and I'm like, "No, it's not." And we looked it up, and yes,
Yeah.
I didn't know at first, but it doesn't take it away. Like I could watch it now and I'm still like,
Mhm.
yo, this is excellent. Like we've done and we talk, about the found footage. And I think that
Yeah, yeah.
that was a very unique way to do that that I was there for.
That's one I actually, because you were giving it some love not too long back, and I was like, you know what, I'll give it a second chance for sure. And I did get it from the library and brought it home. I started watching it, and I didn't get too far into it. I was just like, I was like, maybe under different circumstances. I just feel like maybe I wasn't just like in the mood to watch it or something at the time. But yeah, it
I'm
never
saying
never
like
tripped my trigger like it has for you. But
the
that's, I
the
mean, I've heard this from other people too, where like it was, it worked really well for them.
well, like for me, it's like the scene where they like are talking to one of the dudes and they make him like go under hypnosis and
Mhm.
tell him what he sees, and then he like goes home and it's like a police dash cam footage of him just off in his entire family. Like
Yeah.
that to me was like I
Yeah.
was like why is this in a film, what is going on? And I was terrified, dude. I was like, this is
Right.
I'll never go to Alaska after I watched that movie. I was like, hell no, dude, I ain't going up to Alaska. Like nah. uh now I'd go up to Alaska
I
now.
know, between that and 30 Days a Night, fuck all that.
It's true. It's true. I don't know what
Hell yeah.
I'd probably rather deal with the vampires than aliens. I feel like
I don't know, man. That's a hard choice because those were some gnarly ass vampires.
they were, but come on, stake through the heart on the vampires kills them. Aliens, I don't know. Really, it depends on what kind of alien.
I don't know.
You'd have to figure that out. A vampire, you'd at least have some basic knowledge and knowing exactly what you should at least try first. An alien, you're gonna have to sit back and study.
Right? Yeah, I felt the same way. I
It's fun.
saw I saw 30 Days a Night around the same time I saw the movie Insomnia, the Christopher Nolan movie with Robin Williams and Al Pacino. And that movie also takes place in Alaska, but for the other portion where it's just daytime all the fucking time. And those two movies together, I'm like, Alaska doesn't sound like a great time. It's fucking cold. It's night for a whole month. It's day forever after. Like that sounds like a alien planet. I don't know, man. But
I
yeah,
could sleep through it. I don't feel like my sleeping habits would switch out because I take plenty of naps that are like 6 hours long during the day anyway. So
just been asleep for 30 days. They thought I was one of the vampires. Uh, all right, we'll do
I,
number six.
I'd
Uh,
hibernate.
I feel like from this point forward, I definitely like these were the ones that were like, yeah, these are on my list for sure. Um, Coming in at number six for me is the OG Night of the Living Dead. It's just, I don't know, gotten in deeper and deeper over the years. I've watched it countless times for my own reasons. Some people know it's still a secret over here at Earth 217. But I don't know, man. There's just something about it. I know a long time ago, the very first time I saw it, I don't remember if I saw Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead first or if I saw this first, but this is what definitely got me started on the zombie kick. This was just before like the big boom of zombie stuff, before Zombieland and Walking Dead happened and all that. And so I was like, damn, these are awesome. Like this is so good. Even as a kid watching that original one in black and white and stuff, like I don't know, man. There's just something about it that I was just like, this shit's eerie,
I vibe
and
with that, dude. There was some really good zombie flicks that came out right before the boom that I like that were like B movie off movies, and I can't for the life of me remember them now. But I really wish I could because there was a few that I remember that I was like, that's actually pretty sick.
yeah, it's the Godfather of zombie flicks, and
It
and
is.
I actually, that franchise I've had a weird relationship with because I've seen them all out of order and I haven't seen them all, like, and I've seen them in like a weird times. I only just recently saw the original Dawn of the Dead like last year, I think, or the year before that, and I was fucking mind blown. I was like, "Holy shit, this is incredible! How did I go this long without watching this movie?" Like I love it.
There's a lot, especially in that universe, man. There's a lot when you get into like the later ones too, like Land of the Dead, Diary of the
Mhm.
Dead, and
Yeah.
it gets a lot, but they're good. I like them too because they always find a way to make you be like, oh,
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, that's my number six.
I
The
vibe with
old
that, man.
'60s classic.
So my number 6 was staying in the realm of the last one. I didn't mean to put it there. So my original number 7 was Cujo. Sparked my fucking fear of dogs my whole childhood. So that was great. But I always loved watching this. We always watched Stephen King. Seemed to always like his movies were on like TNT or
Yeah,
USA
yeah,
during
yeah.
the day or something. And that one I always remembered. But my legit number 6 pick is Scared the hell out of me. And I was probably too young to be there, but my mom, my sister, and my aunt drugged me to it, and that was the Blair Witch Project.
I knew this was going to be on your list.
Bro, I don't know, like, and it's not really the movie per se, but obviously when I was a kid. I would have been what 90 that came out in what 99 maybe.
I think so. It was sometime in the '90s,
Yeah, so like
97,
any
98.
Yeah, so I would have been anywhere from 10 to, like, 12,
Yeah.
mind you. So yeah, by the end of it, I was like, That's fucked up." And of course, back before the internet, I thought these were real people and they died. So up
Yeah.
until they were at the MTV Movie Music Awards or something, I thought they was dead. When I saw them there, I'm like, "What are these guys? They're dead. What is it?" And it's like, "Oh." Um, but the reason why that movie has stuck with me is because on our way home after the movie, my mom decided that she's going to take a route that went like through the
Through the
woods,
woods.
and they stopped the car and turned it off and was like, "No, come on, Aaron, like we're getting out, we're going to go search for the Blair Witch." And I was like, "If you guys get out of this car, I'm going to fucking I don't know how to drive, but I'm going, dude."
That's
I remember that, and it
funny.
was is good. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was me. That was me growing up. I was always the so easy to scare.
I can dig on that. Obviously by the time I saw Blair Witch Project, I knew what the deal was. But I do remember hearing about it because I would have been much younger when it came out, and because I was born '94, so it either came out somewhere between '94 and '99. That movie came out, so I wouldn't have been too old. But I do remember in the early days of it being out, like hearing about this movie, and I was just like, "What? Like that sounds crazy." And then, of course, by the time I saw it, I knew the deal. But Paranormal Activity was that I feel like for my like we're not
Yeah,
too
yeah,
far
I could
off
see.
in
Yeah, no,
age,
I
but
could see.
Paranormal Activity was kind of ours because especially the way I saw it with a bootleg copy and shit, I was just like, oh, this is fucked. Like this is pretty crazy stuff. And yeah, old zombie movies, there is something about them, man. There's zombies in general. Like even though I didn't get big into Walking Dead, like I still love zombies. I have a love in my heart for them.
Walking Dead had its moments
What
before
you
it
were saying though
stuck.
about Cujo, man, it is a shock that Cujo's not on this list. I really need to assess, and we're gonna have to come back to this at some point, this list, to see if anything's changed once we've like truly assessed situations.
Man, I'm telling you, Cujo made me afraid of dogs. And get this, this is the kicker too. What does a dog love? What is just a general dog love? If it sees a little kid and a little kid takes off running, a dog's like, "Oh shit, I want to
Yeah,
play."
yeah, yeah,
So every time we saw dogs, we would take off running, and what would happen? They'd chase
yep.
after us, and we would be fucking terrified, dude.
Cujo was always a movie that my mom would talk about, like from her childhood, that like freaked her the hell out. But she's like, yeah, nowadays it's not like that scary. And I had just read the book because I collect all the Stephen King books and stuff, and I had just read Cujo like a few years back. And when I got to the ending, I was like, fuck, like because I'd seen the movie like a decade before that, and I'm just like, is that how the fucking movie ended? Because like I don't remember that. Like that shit's dark. That ending is dark, man. And then the movie was on TV, and I actually think it was like Christmas Day or something. And I was at my parents' house, and we all ended up watching Cujo because it was on the TV. And like, sure as shit, that's how the movie ended. And I was like, damn, son, like but it is excellent. It's funny though that you mentioned this because I threw on old Pluto TV last night, and Poltergeist was on, and then I think it was Christine afterwards. And I forget how dope Christine is until I sit down to watch Christine. And I was thinking to myself, Carrie, Christine, and Cujo is like the perfect triple feature of Stephen King. I feel like that's
He
those
had some
two
hits,
movies.
dude.
I feel like just have a vibe to them.
A lot of them from back then. Like I said, man, I throw on all the made for TV ones. Tub
Mhm.
Thumpers,
Oh
I
yeah,
think was one. The Tommy Knockers or some
Tub
shit.
Thumpers. Is that what you
I
said?
don't. Yeah. Oh wait, that was the band. The
Rose Red.
Tommy
That's what I have
Knockers.
not seen. Tommy Knockers. Yeah. Um,
The Langoliers, wasn't that one? Didn't they eat time? That one was terrifying as well.
um, so let's see here. My number 5. See, this is tricky because these are the good ones. These are the best of the best, the cream of the crop.
Well, my number 5, I think, might cross over with one on your list,
Okay,
maybe. So, let me say my number 5
I
just
will.
in
I'm gonna
case it
sneak out a
is.
copy and watch it.
And then because then we can just talk on that and make your pick easy. But my number 5 is The Shining.
The Shining. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just thinking that The Shining is probably my number 5 as
Okay,
well.
good. I almost was gonna let you say it to be like, that's mine, but
Yeah,
I was like, in case he doesn't, I don't want to be like, well, mine's The
yeah.
Shining, and you'd be like, that's my next pick, and it's like,
Yeah.
but
I feel like we actually missed a perfect segue. If we had known that number 5 was going to be the same, we were already talking about Stephen King. But yeah, man, speaking of Stephen King, The Shining, bro. Like, I know it's not old Stevie's favorite of his work, but um, fuck, dude, that is a movie. You want to talk about a movie that sticks with you? The first time I ever watched it, I was at my grandparents' house, and I think I got a copy from the library or something, and I was watching it. I'm all by myself in the living room, and there's a fucking snowstorm outside.
oh yeah.
Like the conditions were perfect, man. And so that was the first time I ever watched it. I'm all by myself, and man, that shit tripped me out. It was so freaky, and to
I
this
would
day, it just holds up. It's just a classic, you
I
know.
think my mom probably showed us The Shining for the first time because, my mom was into a lot of those horror movies from the time. I think The Exorcist might be one of her like favorite scary movie type movies. Um, but yeah, man, The Shining, everything really about that movie is awesome, dude. The shots, the way it is, it's so weird, when he comes up that hallway and those
Yeah,
guys are in that room. Uh, Even nowadays, being able to see all the footage put out from behind the scenes with Jack Nicholson
mhm,
especially is really, really interesting to me to like watch. And like him getting, I really like one. I saw one video. It's when he's like axing through the door.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it
And
like
he's like
kind of
getting
shows
himself hyped up and shit.
it shows that, but it goes to the point where they're like action, and then it cuts into the actual scene, and it's like, see, now that's really, I like shit like that. Like I kind of
Mhm,
see stuff like that. I think that's awesome. But yeah,
yeah,
dude, everything, and it's like that I had to put on my list because it's like I've also wanted to make like an album based on that with my
mhm.
stage name being Johnny Cast. It's like I always use the "Here's Johnny" cut coming into my stuff. It's just perfect,
It's
dude.
just perfect. It's hard to. It's like, what do you say about The Shining that hasn't already been said? You know?
Really, really, it is. It's like
Yeah.
said it is it's an inspiration, I think, when you're trying to do horror or any scary spooky shit yourself, is looking at that and seeing, like we were talking about with the isolation and whatnot,
Yeah.
earlier, just how it affects
Oh,
people.
absolutely. Yeah, that my mind goes to that all the time. Like when you know your just mind is breaking. It's just like my Jack Nicholson's the first image in my head.
Just sitting
Uh,
at that desk.
just sitting at that desk or out in the cold, just fucking. But yeah, man, that shit's crazy. And Shelley Duvall is
Yeah,
awesome in that movie too. All of it, dude.
that
All
long
of it.
ass cigarette ash of hers, I love it. Let's give a shout out to that.
But yeah, hell yeah, yeah. The Shining. I feel like when I get into the top 5, they were easy for me because these I would think are like just some of the best, hands down horror movie classics of all time. Some of them I totally get. Might not be on other people's, but absolutely. There's just like she had such a unique look to her. And there's this actress out there right now. her name is Alex Esso. I guess she was in like The Haunting of Hill House and stuff. I never
Okay.
got around to
Yeah.
seeing those shows,
Yeah.
but she played um, Shelley Duvall's part in the Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep. Um, they because they did like recreations of scenes from The Shining, and they used like these different actors that kind of looked like uh, Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, and she was great, dude. She was really good. I was like, if they ever
That's a
remake
movie.
this, they really need to like
See, that's a movie I haven't watched. I have not watched the
Doctor
follow-up.
Sleep.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I dug it. I dug it
I need
because
to peep that
I
one
feel
out.
like he was trying to. The director was trying to do like best of both worlds, where he was like honoring the book, but also the Stanley Kubrick version of it as well. Like he was doing a sequel to the movie, but also being faithful to the Doctor Sleep book as
Right.
well. Which I think Stephen King understood. I will say this: Doctor Sleep has one of the craziest, most intense fucking scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. Uh, I forget what this kid is in. He's in a ton of shit. This child actor that's in it. That there's a scene where he gets murdered, and dude, they play it out. And the thing is, like, I always knew that kid was a good actor, but that movie, that scene is as intense as it is because of that dude's performance. Like, that kid's performance sells the shit out of it, and you're just like, dude, I can't believe I'm watching this kid get murdered like this right now. Like, it just it's crazy, dude. Highly
Nice.
recommend.
Nice.
But yeah, number 5. So let's get into it here. Um number 4, I'm probably gonna have to go. Fuck, this is hard, dude. This is where it's all like equal
Yeah.
playing field
And so
for
I
me.
say I'm glad I just numbered mine already.
Um Honestly, I think the way I have them, no, that's not true. Okay, so number 4 um is technically 2 movies. I know that's a cop out, but um it's Halloween for me, and it's the John Carpenter and the Rob Zombie one in equal measure. Because without the Rob Zombie one, I never would have gotten into horror. I mean, that was my introduction. That's what transitioned me from not being a horror dude to way being into it. It's the first horror movie I ever willingly sat down and watched and was like, dude, this is nuts. And to this day, I still love watching it.
Mhm.
It's just such its own thing, you know. And I know some people don't dig it. Some people are really attached to their Michael Myers, and I'm a huge Halloween's definitely like my favorite of the slasher franchises. But it's like, I'm not married to this idea of Michael Myers like other people are. But and the original Halloween, though, like you can't have the Rob Zombie one without the original, and the
True.
original is just like a master class in fucking low budget
Everything.
filmmaking and
Yeah.
everything, man. Like I really believe that the best way to learn how to make movies, even in this digital age, is go back and watch old horror movies, man. Like and how movies like the original Halloween, the original Evil Dead, like all these movies that like had no money, like
Don't they
low
say
budget.
that there is not a drop of blood in the original Halloween movie? Isn't that correct?
I don't know how correct that is, but I could believe it.
I believe that's true. I believe there's absolutely like no blood because like I believe the only time like there is like they'll like have but I believe the only time that he actually you on screen see
When
him
you
really
like,
stab is when he goes like on the side of Lori when she's
yeah,
coming out of
yeah,
the
yeah.
closet. Other than
That
that,
was
I
the
don't.
first image that came to mind when you're like, was there any blood in that movie? The only thing I could think of was that scene.
I
So
think that
that
is
might
the
be true.
only. Yeah, I think that, and that's masterful because that is a
Yeah.
classic, dude. That is a
Same thing with
classic.
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first time I saw that movie, it's hailed as like one of the most like gruesome, violent movies of all time, but it's not. When you watch it, it's really not. There's not that much violence. It's all psychological. It makes you
That's
think
master.
that
That's
it's and
master class in my opinion. That was actually one of my honorable mentions. Both of them, like you did with Halloween. I think with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think is both of them. The original one, like what you're saying, is so awesome, and how they dubbed it, gruesome, gruesome. And I think when they rebooted in like 2007 or eight, I think that one was actually pretty decent too. The way they set it up, like, oh, this is all based on true events and
yeah,
going
yeah.
down, and it's like police found footage and stuff. I really liked how that one vibed. But yeah, that was an honorable mention.
Yeah, Halloween. Plus, Halloween, it's just got that special place in my heart that even when I didn't watch horror movies, it sets the tone for Halloween night. Like I remember as a kid trick or treating, you hear that sound everywhere, the theme song, everywhere you go, and you see all these Michael Myers walking the streets, the same as you see him on the fucking TVs in people's houses, and you're just like, who the fuck is this guy? And it, as a kid, it really does take on this thing of like, oh shit, Michael Myers is gonna come kill me, dude. Like, and I remember that would always be the thing on Halloween night is that song. Like, I just even long before I got into the movies, I already knew the vibe.
No, I feel that. I feel that. That's like kind of plays into a little funny story with my number 4. Because I had chosen an absolute classic. I've this was one of the movies as a kid. I feel like I watched when it was on TV. Of course, it kind of got away from the bad stuff. But A Nightmare on Elm Street. Uh, I loved it, dude. Like, well, I mean, now as a kid, I didn't. The funny
Right.
story is
Yeah.
what you're saying, like as a kid, you thought Michael Myers is gonna come kill you, and it's like when I was a kid, it was like samesies, dude. Like I
Yeah.
remember, I have a memory of being drugged through the haunted house in my town. I was the youngest of the family,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everyone else wanted to go. Well, we can't leave Aaron by himself, so he's got to go too. Um, and within it, they had like a boiler room setup where Freddy Krueger was in there. Nowadays, I'd walk in there and be like, yeah, whatever, kid, you're not Freddy Krueger. As a little kid, that was Freddy Krueger. He was in there. He wanted to fucking, get me and all this stuff. And I was like, not for it. Uh, and I remember, um, yeah, Freddy is that man though.
I
But
don't
me and
know.
my
These days,
sister,
I go Chucky myself.
um, it's coming up. That's coming up. But I'll never forget watching. I think it was the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and me and my sister were in this like rocking chair, and we were both watching. I was really young at this time; had to have been like 5, 6,
Oh
4,
yeah.
somewhere around that. And there's the part where he like pops out of the bushes, and he's like, "Ah!" And me and her both jump back at the same time, screaming. So we both tipped that chair right over. Another just like classic memory I'll never forget. So that's why that had to be up there on that list.
Yeah. Um, Number 3 for me is Evil Dead 2013. But I feel like this was one of those situations where I could pick just one if I had to, unlike Halloween. But I mean, this goes for both the original and the remake. Evil Dead, is up there,
All
man.
of it.
I don't.
All of
I
it.
tell people all the time anymore that I don't think there would be a Chase and Shep if there wasn't an Evil Dead. More than anything, like we pull from a lot of inspiration, but I feel like Evil Dead was a big springboard for us, and our love for Evil Dead. I have come to learn that that's like one of my favorite, especially like demon movies, is stuff like Evil Dead and like Dead Alive and Demons and Night of the Demons, where it's just like these playful fucking just like they're just here to kill you and make you miserable. They don't have any other agenda. Like they can't be reasoned with. They can't, they are just here to fuck around with you and play with their food. Like that's it. And there's just again that Looney Tunes aspect to it. And I just binge watched like all of them on. I'm on Ash versus Evil Dead now. But even watching them all back to back to back like that, I, Evil Dead 2013, man, still remains my number one of that whole lot. It just like the first time I saw that dude, I saw it in theaters. It fucking blew me away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like especially like all the Evil Deads, but especially 2013. Again, if I taught a film class, I'd do a lesson on Evil Dead 2013 regarding practical effects because that movie, for a modern day film, the amount of practical effects in that, like it's
Insane.
insane. Like it's such a minimal amount of CGI only to like enhance certain things, and like that's definitely the way to go. I feel like, and they really embraced. To me, it's also a great lesson in remakes. Like I think it's probably, in my opinion, it's the greatest horror remake there is. Maybe up there like Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, like two of the greatest like horror remakes ever.
I
But yeah,
agree. I agree with that. All love on Evil Dead. I feel that, man. My number 3 pick too was like kind of the same. I don't feel like had I not had this moment, I don't
mhm,
feel like I would have grown to be the person I was. So I had to place this one up in the top three, and that was Scream, the OG Scream.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old, and my mom and her husband at the time decided, yeah, Aaron's coming with us. I think I was like, no, I want to see it, and they're like, it's they're saying it's going to be sad. I was like, no, I want to see it. I'm good. So they're like, well, you're going to watch the whole thing. We're not leaving. And boy, when I tell you, by the time, Drew Barrymore gets it right there at the beginning, I was like, I made a mistake, dude. This is not cool.
It's funny.
But still one, like, I own it. I watch it all the time. I love it, dude. It's a classic. I think they really, when I think, you were talking like Cabin in the Woods. I feel like they really Cabin in the Woods,
Mhm.
the slasher genre,
Right.
and
Yeah.
with that
There
movie,
wouldn't be a Cabin in the Woods if it wasn't for Scream.
yeah,
It
and
paved the way.
and it's one of those. Even the new ones they're doing, yeah, they're kind of. But hey, I'm gonna be on the theaters. I'm gonna be watching them
Mhm.
because I can't get enough of it, dude. Like, because it reminds me of that original one, going to those theaters, seeing that, and not answering because we had home phones at that time, not answering that
Yeah.
home phone for like a good minute, being like, nah. And then that was the thing back then, was to figure out how to get a little voice changer and call people and be like, what's your favorite scary movie?
That's the thing, man, about like characters like that, like Ghostface and fucking Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and Freddy and Chucky and all these. Like, even growing up as a kid who didn't watch horror movies, like I was aware of all of these people and like what they were capable of. Like I was still afraid of these things that I'd never even seen the movies. Like they are icons, man.
And I feel like
Unique.
they're awesome, man. I feel like, especially now, because a lot of people go back and rewatch all the movies, and now once you know who the killers are at the end, you start seeing like, oh, well, one of the guys in the ghost face uses his left hand, the other guy uses his right hand. Wait a second, is that who and who? And then, yeah, you can go watch, like, on YouTube. People can literally tell you who kills who under that
Right.
mask.
These days.
Yeah, it's insane, and I love that. I think that gives so much more depth to a movie than just going in, watching it, being like, "That was dope," and being done. It gives more.
This was our number 3, right?
Yes, we're at 2.
Okay, all right. Number 2 is the original Poltergeist for me.
Here,
Yeah,
here.
and that's what kind of got me kicked off on all this. It was on TV last night, and I saw that Poltergeist was coming up, and I was like, I couldn't like go over and look at the description. I'm like, fingers crossed it's the old one and not the remake. The remake was pretty good, but that's okay. You can always watch it again later if you missed anything.
What was it?
But
What was
we'll
your?
also tell you mine was Evil Dead 2013, right?
Yeah, my 3 was Scream. OG Scream.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. OG
Love
Scream.
it.
Yeah, Poltergeist, man. Like that was another one of those movies that like my mom told me about, and
Mhm,
she
mhm.
introduced me to it. And the first time I watched it, I was like blown away by it. It's magical in the way that only like those Amblin movies are, those Steven Spielberg kind of flicks, and it's just like I watched it with her. I watched it with my little sister, and I to this day I stand by Poltergeist being one of the most accessible movies to a family, like as far as horror goes. Plus, like the family in Poltergeist is so like relatable. Like
True,
it's
true.
like unlike any other horror movie. I feel like it just like yeah, that kind of shit too. Like having
Hey.
paranormal encounters, like it's just like that kind of movie. Like I believe in that kind of stuff too. I've had things happen too. So Poltergeist kind of amplifies that. If you believe in that kind of stuff, you're just like, yeah, fuck all that. My kid ain't going into the TV. But yeah, like the parents are like smoking pot and like like it's just like they're not a dysfunctional family. Like I feel like is like the trope anymore, where it's just like this family, the teenager doesn't get along with so and so, and it's just like drama
Well,
all
and
the time.
back then the trope would have been like a, perfect suburban family,
Right, yeah, and,
So
like,
it
the
just
fact that
shows like, no.
they're just a casual, like, everyday folks, and that, and that, the fucking I can't think of her name, but the woman that plays, uh, the, um, like, clairvoyant chick that comes and, like, man, what a performance, what a like iconic. Like yeah, that's the kind of shit that sticks with you. And
Yeah, no, I
like
feel that.
yeah, Poltergeist. It's one that like I've it's I always go back to it as like this is going to be like the first thing like when Charlie's old enough to start watching horror movies, I'm going to be like we're going to sit down and watch Poltergeist. Like it's just I don't
It's
know,
a good
man.
one.
It's great.
Um,
Gives me all the feels.
my number two, I would vote against not sitting down with your kid to watch because this one fucking scarred me for years, and I'm telling you, years. I had to put it on the list and up at top. And like these first two here were like no brainers for me. It's like okay, boom, boom, and then I had to keep thinking like, do I know more than two horror movies that would be considered favorites? Child's Play. Now, mind you, I know we've talked about this and I've told my stories on this plenty of times on the show. But for anybody that might be listening and not knowing, um, if you've watched Child's Play, you know, they kill Chucky, they throw him in the fireplace at the end. I was a very young child. And I was like, can I come out now? Because I wasn't allowed to watch these scary movies. And they were like, yeah, I think it's done. You can come out now. And I came out. And then that motherfucker burst out of that fireplace. And I got to see that. And I was not with it no more. And man, I preschool screaming, crying because they had a Mr. Good Guy doll in there. Wouldn't step foot in that preschool. I did not want nothing to do with that. But now as an adult, being able to, I own every Child's Play movie there is, TV show, all that good works. Just the geniusness of that movie was so great. I love how you don't see the doll move until like halfway, through the movie. And then it's like, it's just all of a sudden he's like, "Rah!" And you're like, what the heck? Oh man.
Should have watched Chucky when I did, but I feel like that's how it goes for almost everybody who ends up watching Child's Play.
But then it's like, dude, at the same time, you got to understand,
I'd
like,
be actually careful next to all my dolls. See, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about with like I didn't watch horror movies, but I knew about Chucky, and so like when I was around dolls and stuff, I was freaked out because of that shit.
I'm
And
telling you,
same
man,
thing. I'd always be
the
careful.
youngest of the bunch, I had an older brother and an older sister. They, my sister would be like, Aaron, come upstairs. And I'd come upstairs and go into like my brother's room, and she'd run out and like close the door and hold it so I couldn't get out. My brother would be in there and he'd be like, Aaron, I'm Chucky. You want to play? And I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, man. But yeah, or they'd turn like the basement lights off when I was down in the shower, and then they'd start going, hit me with the Jason noises and shit. And I'd be like, wow, dude. So Child's Play is definitely on there. I'd love it. I enjoyed the remake. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy that one. But
I was
I
a fan.
actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good
One of our original 25 Slays of Christmas.
it was. I think it's a great one. Yeah, that one is a great one to watch at Christmas. Actually, I guess I have to recant my state. I don't own that one, so that would be I don't own every Child's Play.
Okay.
So I guess now I'm realizing I do have one more I need to get.
My brother had nightmares that I was going to turn into Chucky, and one time I was awake in the middle of the night playing with my toys, and it scared the shit out of him.
I actually that is why I've said this. That is why I became cool with Chucky. It was years. I even remember having a dream once, and this even my mom at the time told me this is. I don't know if I've told this story here. Even she said this was a weird dream, and in my dream, Chucky like was chasing me, and he like cut me on the side of my body, and I was like, I woke up all scared. And like 3 days later, me and my buddies were out playing like kickball or something, and I ran by my shed and I got cut right in the exact same place. And I was like, in the like same style. And I was like, that's weird. But I actually wasn't cool with Chucky until I had a dream. And this is weird because it's like my brain fused two Chuckies. Okay. So in my dream, Chucky came out of the back of the limo, and I perceived him as Chucky from Child's Play, but he really looked like Chucky from Rugrats when he would be an adult and like slick his hair back and wear a suit and shit like that.
Yeah.
So he looked like that, and he was in a limousine, and I was like, whoa, like freaking out. And he's like, no, Aaron, no, hey, I don't kill everybody. I'm not bad all the time. And he like took me to this arcade in my dream, and I was like, damn, okay. And I was like, all right, Chucky, I guess you're not totally bad. And he's like, see, that's all I'm saying. And after that, like I woke up, I think that day I was like, I went probably to the, movie store and paid my dollar and rented Child's Play and Child's Play 2 and 3. And I was like, I can watch these movies. I ain't scared of them.
As often as I've heard that story for the first time, that's like 100% a plot to a Chase and Shep short.
Yeah, it's like,
Kill everybody, and we're like, that's good enough. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't kill everybody,
good
so
enough for me. Hey,
fuck it.
just like you said, that childhood fear of thinking these characters want to kill you
Yeah,
and having like, because this was one of those, as a kid, I don't know, but now that I'm older, it's like I was like lucid dreaming within it. I'm through my own eye perception and being able to touch pinball games and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was like getting that confirmation that it's like, but I'm not going to kill you. I was, all right, cool, we're
yeah,
good then. Yeah, that's very very on brand for Chase and Shep.
absolutely. All right, the big moment, numero uno, number one horror movie of all time for me is Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's
Um,
Baby. I don't know if I've ever actually like watched fully like vested.
I don't know, man. I
Did they reboot
don't
that one?
know. They did as a like TV mini series with
Oh,
Zoe
did it?
Saldana, and it was all right. They did. It was like one of those remakes that you're like, well, you did this. It's like you didn't need to, but you did, and then now we've watched it. And like to me, Rosemary's Baby. It's also one of my favorite like horror novels ever, and I
Right.
think the adaptation is perfect. Like as far as book to film adaptations go, this is probably one of the most like page for page identical sort of things. Um,
Word.
and
Word.
I don't know, man, the atmosphere, the way it's shot, the music, it's just I don't know. Maybe it's the pretentious filmmaker inside of me that digs it so much. Yeah, I was older when I got around to seeing it as well. And you know what? I just said this to somebody earlier. I was like, after having kids, I bet this would hit different.
I feel like didn't we watched it for something we did? I feel like,
Um, uh, the 31 Slays of Halloween.
and I think that's what I said during it. That was my problem, was I just couldn't, like what you said with the fourth kind. Like when I sat down to watch it, I just was like, this is just slow burn and not doing it for me right now.
I feel, and it is. It is a
I need to
slow
sit down
burn.
and rewatch that one.
It's a slow burn, but like it's one of those that like the style of that movie. I love atmospheric horror, and that is like a king to me of atmospheric horror. And I'm sure it does. I've been thinking about it ever since Belle got pregnant. I'm like, I need to rewatch Rosemary's Baby and put myself through that for some reason. Uh, but I feel like it's just like the fear of that kind of thing, like especially like nowadays where mental health is as prevalent as it is, and like we've shined a light on like how people will gaslight people and all that kind of shit. Like Rosemary's Baby was the OG, like, getting gaslit as fuck storyline, where it's just like,
I'm remembering it now. I'm
yeah, it's
remembering
like
it
it's
now.
super super terrifying. Like when you're like, and storylines like that always get me, where it's like, oh shit, I think everybody here is against me, and it's then you start being like, is she crazy? Is this actually happening? Are these people pieces of shit? Like and I, in the end, when you like know, like she's in the like in her right mind and shit, and what goes down, you're just like, damn, like it's terrifying to think about, like that people could do that. Like it's such a real thing that could happen, a demon babies aside, like it's just like that sort of manipulation is very real. And to me, that just like got under my skin. And that kind of style and atmosphere to this day, like I spot it in movies. Like Get Out is a movie that has a very similar atmosphere. Like
Oh, okay.
Jordan Peele even said Rosemary's Baby was a big influence on that.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, number one for me. I just think it's like a master class. I love it.
I vibe with that. I think my number one is not a shock to nobody. Okay, I think this is not a movie that scared me at all. But like we said, this is one of those movies that I watched and I was like, I want to be that person. Like if I could grow up and be that guy, I'd be pretty cool with that. Um, and that is you've already mentioned one of them, but this is my favorite one of the bunch, and that's Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I really feel like it really hammers in Ash as a character in Evil Dead 2 and gets that campiness, that over the top goriness. Just everything about that, like nowadays, like that is one of the movies that, like, out of all these movies on the list, yes, I watched them like most of them. Like of course, like I said, I haven't watched The Strangers in a long time. That's something that I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting on that one really quick, actually. But Evil Dead, I watched them. Thank you. Yes, hell yeah. It is like I that one. Oh, I think I even posted a meme on Facebook today of it, of his hand flipping him off, and it'd be like,
Mhm.
every little bit about that movie is like what I enjoy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love, like you're saying, the demons that just are fucking bonkers and just I'm here to fuck shit up. And then you've got Ash that's just like one of the biggest doofuses, but at the same time,
Mhm.
just overall baller badass that you can get. And he's just like, to me, like you were saying, like the family in Poltergeist, he just seemed
Mhm.
like
Just an everyman.
the
Yep.
the everyday guy thrown into this situation when you've originally had, the hero, the bar, like Arnold Schwarzenegger looking guy that's like,
Yeah.
oh, I got
Yeah.
this. And then here you got this guy who's like, he's the savior of the world. You
Right.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that just always stuck with me. And like you were saying earlier, yes, it's very influential on what we do
Yeah.
because we want that same
Right.
vibe of
We're just
being,
we're trying to be two ashes. It's like
yeah,
Jay and Silent Bob if they were both Ash Williams. Pretty much our angle. Uh,
yeah. And it's just to be looking at them like those two are gonna save everybody.
right.
Yeah, maybe
Sometimes,
some of you.
sometimes.
But yeah, like I said, everything, like I really love um like the scene where like everything in the cabin comes to life,
Oh
basically.
yeah,
He's seeing
just
himself in the mirror. Yeah. And just
I
everything going wild.
I have to say, Evil Dead is one of those franchises that none of them miss for me. They're all
No, yeah.
fantastic in their own right, and this is weird to say, but I think Evil Dead 2 is at the bottom of my list. Like, just, and it's not even that it's because I think it's bad; it's because of my enjoyment level on all of them. And that's just I'd only seen Army of Darkness for the second time the other day, and like just rewatching it, I'm just like, fuck, this is so much fun. Like I don't know. There's something about it does take that stuff from Evil Dead 2 over into like it's just so weird. It's the practical effects that take it for me, like with the fucking little ashes running around and like fucking them up and the second evil ash growing out of them and
Yeah.
just like all
Yeah.
sorts of just like shit like that. Um
Let's say, like, when you said you watched it, I was like, that is one of the most quotable ones out of all of them
yeah,
that everybody be quoting all the
yeah.
time.
But yeah, Evil Dead, special place in
It
the
does.
old
It
heart.
definitely does, man. And like I said, that one is just one of those, like, I'm gonna buy every bit of Evil Dead anything I see that I can get just because I want that franchise to live way beyond me.
Forever. Yes.
Yeah, and
Past
I
me. Yeah,
I would love to get my hands in that franchise. At
absolutely.
some point in life, oh man, I'd love it if they came to
Even
us.
even if hey, Ash is hanging up the chainsaw and there's two buddies ready to pick it up. If you got a second, one of us can hold the chainsaw, the other one can hold the shotgun. So,
We'll just put an
that
arm
way.
around each other and be like, "Well, hello, Mister Fancy Pants."
Swallow this. And like I said earlier, coming up with top 10 was so fucking hard that there were definitely ones that were, it took a lot of debate. And obviously, we could rattle on about other ones that we enjoy a lot, but I'm just going to rattle off five, not really get into them, of my runner ups. And that is Sinister. I think that's still to this day one of the scariest fucking movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, yeah, that is definitely very unsettling.
Every
Very
time.
unsettling.
The Witch. There's just something again,
Unsettling.
atmospheric horror. It's a vibe. Alien, atmospheric horror. It's a vibe. Fucking Shaun of the Dead, super influential horror comedy. Love it. Edgar Wright, favorite director ever. Um, and Jaws, because I've seen it a gajillion times. I watch it every year come 4th of July. Uh, it's just, oh man, it slaps.
Ding 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 ding.
It's
Ding,
a good
ding,
one.
ding, ding. No, yeah, and like you said, there's tons. You could literally, thank
It
you.
was, yeah, thank you. It wasn't easy, that's for sure.
No, because like I said, we could talk hours. I mean, we didn't even, Friday the 13th. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's tons of Pet Cemetery, so many really good horror movies out there. And that's why I've always loved it, because I feel like there's something for everybody within that genre. Whereas
Yeah.
with where the other genres, you know, I don't see anybody like, I'm not a big action fan, but I'll go to this blockbuster action movie, or you know
Right.
what I'm saying? But within horror, there's so many.
The top 50?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe come Halloween we can bust out the top 50. Maybe we'll work on our official like top 100 of all time. Who knows?
That would be wild, man. There's just
Yeah.
so many really good ones out there too. And this isn't even getting into like, I'd have to probably literally be like, let's make a separate list for like B horror movies. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, because
And that's
there's
how
so
I was
many of
feeling on
those.
like so many of these movies that I was like, I feel like they'd fallen into the top 10 of a different top 10 list, but
Yeah.
not this
Yeah.
one. Like if
Exactly.
I had done top 10 like scariest movies, then Sinister would have definitely made like the top 10. Like, and some of my favorites probably wouldn't have made it onto that list because some of them aren't all that scary. Poltergeist, I don't think Poltergeist is scary. Like Killer Clowns, I don't think Killer Clowns is scary, but
But if you're going out there movies, I mean,
mm,
yeah, that
yeah.
one of the top ones would probably be Rubber on my list.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know what
absolutely.
I'm saying? Like
If you
that.
want to get into some weird shit, absolutely. If you want to talk weird horror movies, let's fucking go because that's a whole other thing altogether. But Rubber would definitely be in my top 10, as would the movie House, the Japanese movie. That movie's a fucking trip, dude. It's insane. There's not enough drugs in the world to make that movie make sense.
True.
Fucking real quick, we were talking on Evil Dead so much. I'm gonna hit it with the bonus round with just ranking them real quick by enjoyment. Evil Dead 2 is going to be at the bottom. Army of Darkness. Um, I haven't finished Ash versus Evil Dead, so I'll leave it out for now. But yeah, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead Rise, the original Evil Dead, and then Evil Dead 2013.
Tusk is a weird one.
Tusk, yeah, Tusk
Tusk
would
is
probably
a
go on
weird
that
one.
list. John dies at the end.
I'll see, like, if I'm gonna rank them, that's not fair. See, I think, like I said, mine kind of goes in the opposite direction of yours,
Yeah,
because mine's like Evil Dead 2, obviously, is the top tier, and then I would honestly below that, I'd put the television show.
like I
All
said, I didn't add it just because I haven't finished all
all
of it. I
three
think I've only
seasons of
seen
that
season
show
one.
was great in my opinion, but
It is
then
excellent though.
I would probably put, I'd
We
probably
won't we won't we won't say nothing, but it's excellent. So
yes, it is very, very good. No, we have not done any sort of spoiler talks on that one. I wouldn't. It's great.
I'd love
Great,
to have
great,
a
great.
talk on maybe that'll be our next one, our top 10 trippiest horror movies.
Trippy horror.
See ya.
Hey,
Thanks for
have a good
joining
week.
in. Yeah. Have fun on
Um,
set if you're still there.
that's true. Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah. There's some really good trippy ones out there too. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
But yeah,
I was gonna say there's like we could do top 10 trippy movies, or we could do top 10 trippy horror movies. So, maybe we'll pocket that for October. We've been promising the goods for October. But yeah, clearly we could talk about this for hours. We've already ran over our time a little bit here.
true.
But to close things out, June has come to an end. It's been a pretty laid back month as we've adjusted and invited old Charlie Boy into the world and
It's
whatnot.
true.
But going into July, we're coming back hard, baby,
Heard.
hard. In only the way, in a very Independence Day kind of way, we're coming back because we're going to have one effed month.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth. What is?
You said Independence Day, and I thought of Will
Oh, I
Smith.
gotcha.
Welcome to Earth.
I gotcha. I've only ever seen it once.
Welcome to Earth.
But yes, F. We're having one F to July. This whole next month, we got 5 Mondays. We have 5 directors. We've got John Eisberg joining us next week, directed Final Summer. As some of you who may know, it's our rival camp across the lake. So Camp Chase and Shep is finally coming face to face with the head of Camp Silver Lake. So
Ah,
join us for this encounter. We got John Eisberg, we got Ben Harrell, we got Josh Brucker, then Dylan Brown, and then Ash Hamilton joining us for a second time to close out the month. I'm looking forward to it personally. I of the
Should be
dudes
a
we've
fun
met,
month.
they're good dudes. The
Yeah.
dudes we haven't met, we've heard decent things. We're looking
Very true.
forward to it.
Should be fun talks all month long.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll do it. And we'll see you for this after month.
Hell yeah. Smooches and deuces. Have a great week. Live in love. Cherish every moment.